Welcome to the World Flow channel. Today we're diving into a high-stakes saga that's rocking the global trade landscape. It's Canada's bold, strategic response to the United States escalating tariffs on steel and copper. This isn't just about trade policies or economic maneuvers. It's about a nation staring down a crisis and choosing not to blink. Canada is rewriting its economic playbook, balancing resilience with reinvention. It's charting a path towards self-reliance in a world where trust between allies is fraying. Let's unpack this gripping tale of strategy, steel, and a nation standing its ground. Imagine the scene. It's early June and the US drops a bombshell. President Donald Trump announces a jaw-dropping 50% tariff on Canadian steel. The impact is immediate, like a thunderclap in a clear sky. Canada's steel industry, which sends over 90% of its exports to the US, is hit hard. Within days, shipments grind to a halt. Factories that hummed with activity are now eerily quiet. Jobs vanish. Thousands of workers, from welders to plant managers, face uncertainty. For decades, Canada's steel sector has been a vital thread in North American supply chain. It's been seamlessly integrated with US manufacturers to build cars, skyscrapers, and more. But now, that thread is unraveling. One of Canada's most critical industries finds itself cut off from its biggest customer. The blow stings, but Canada's response is anything but panic. Prime Minister Mark Carney, a former central banker known for his cool-headed pragmatism, steps up. He doesn't fire back with threats or fiery rhetoric. Instead, he unveils a plan that's as calculated as it is ambitious. It's a structural shift designed to do more than patch up the damage. It aims to reposition Canada's economy for a future less dependent on its unpredictable neighbor. This is a story of resilience, of turning a crisis into an opportunity. It starts with a clear message. Canada will no longer be the world's most open steel market. For years, Canada's steel industry has leaned heavily on import. Nearly 2/3 of its steel consumption comes from abroad. Meanwhile, its exports have flowed south, feeding the US's demand for construction and manufacturing. But Trump's tariffs have rewritten that equation overnight. By the end of this month, Canada is rolling out a bold new strategy. Tariff rate quotas will redraw the rules of the game. For countries without free trade agreements, steel imports will be capped at 50% of their 2024 volumes. Anything above that faces a hefty 50% tariff. Free trade partners get a slightly looser leash, with imports capped at 100% of last year's levels. Beyond that, they face the same steep penalty. It's a move that sends a clear signal. Canada is tightening its borders to protect its own. But Carney's plan doesn't stop at playing defense. He's going after the root of the problem with a targeted strike. Any product containing steel melted or poured in China faces additional tariffs. This applies no matter where the steel is finished, Shanghai, Seoul, or elsewhere. This isn't about shutting out global trade. It's about leveling the playing field. There's one notable exception. US steel remains untouched, for now, under existing trade agreements. This isn't retaliation, it's insulation. It's a carefully crafted shield to protect Canada's economy. It keeps the door cracked open for negotiations with Washington. What makes this response so compelling is its forward-thinking vision. Carney isn't just putting out fires. He's laying the foundation for a more self-reliant Canada. The federal government is injecting $1 billion into the Strategic Innovation Fund. This war chest is earmarked for Canadian steel producers. It's not just a handout, it's an investment in modernization. Picture gleaming new equipment rolling into factories. Companies will produce higher value products like advanced alloys for aerospace or green steel for sustainable construction. This funding helps the industry pivot, filling gaps left by lost US contracts. It positions Canada as a global leader in cutting-edge steel production. The plan doesn't stop at factories. Carney's government is putting people first. $70 million will flow through labor market development agreements. This money will support up to 10,000 steel workers. It offers training to sharpen their skills and income assistance to keep families afloat. Another $150 million targets steel-producing communities. Think small towns in Ontario or Quebec, where the local mill is the heartbeat of the economy. Mid-sized firms get expanded access to loans with lower interest rates. They'll see easier entry requirements and repayment terms extended from 5 to 7 years. It's a lifeline that says, we've got your back. It ensures businesses and workers have the tools to weather this storm. Perhaps the most transformative piece is a game changer in federal procurement. From now on, major infrastructure projects must use Canadian steel. This includes bridges spanning the St. Lawrence River. It covers shipyards crafting naval vessels. It extends to housing developments tackling Canada's affordability crisis. This isn't just policy, it's a statement of national pride. The steel that builds Canada's future will come from its own mills. It'll be forged by its own worker. It's a move that ties economic strategy to a sense of identity and purpose. But let's zoom out, because this story unfolds against a backdrop of mounting tension. Trump's tariffs aren't just about steel, they're part of a broader threat. A 35% blanket tariff on all Canadian goods is set to kick in on the 1st of August. This happens unless a bilateral deal is reached. It's a ticking clock, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Yet, Canada isn't rushing to the barricades. Instead of slapping retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, Ottawa is playing a smarter game. Digital services taxes, which could have escalated tensions, have been paused. Tariffs on U.S. steel remain off the table for now. Canada's lead negotiator, Ambassador Kirsten Hillman, is working tirelessly in Washington. She's aiming for a deal to reduce the blanket tariff to 8 to 10%. She's pushing for carve-outs for critical sectors like autos, energy, and metals. It's a delicate dance, balancing firmness with flexibility. It shows Canada's commitment to staying at the table without appearing weak. Just when the pressure seemed unbearable, another bombshell lands. On the 9th of July, Trump announces a 50% tariff on all copper imports, effective the 1st of August. For Canada, this is another gut punch. Last year, Canada exported $9.3 billion worth of copper and copper-based products. Over half, $4.8 billion, went to the U.S. Now, that trade is teetering on the edge. Canadian producers fear their products will be priced out. They can't compete with U.S. suppliers under a 50% tariff. For some, especially those who pivoted to copper during earlier metal tariffs, this feels like deja vu. The risk is real. Lost contracts, layoffs, and even entire market exits. This threatens businesses that rely on the U.S. for a fifth of their sales. Trump's reasoning is straightforward. In a Truth Social post, he framed copper as the backbone of America's industrial future. It powers everything from electric vehicles to military systems and data centers, but the U.S. relies heavily on foreign copper. Building new mines or smelters takes years. In the short term, manufacturers face higher costs. Consumers could see prices rise for wiring, electronics, and more. To Canada, this doesn't look like industrial policy, it looks like leverage. It's a pressure tactic to force concessions at the negotiating table. The 1st of August is now a countdown clock, and the world is watching. Everyone wants to see how far Trump will push before Canada pushes back. Yet Canada isn't shouting or slamming doors. Industry Minister Melanie Joly emphasizes a steady hand. Ottawa and the Canadian Embassy in Washington are monitoring every move. Ambassador Hillman is leading the charge to secure a copper exemption. The goal is a broader trade and security agreement by the 21st of July. That's a self-imposed deadline that leaves just days to negotiate. It's not impossible. Canada has pulled off similar deals before. But with Trump's unpredictable style, the pressure is immense. This isn't just a trade dispute, it's a turning point. For decades, Canada and the US were more than trading partners. They were collaborators, building cars, defense systems, and economies together. Cross-border supply chains thrived on predictability. Now, that foundation is cracking. Even U.S. insiders are raising alarm. Carla Hills, a former U.S. trade representative who helped craft NAFTA, speaks out. She calls Trump's tariffs a self-inflicted wound. She compares them to shooting your sibling in the heart. A Yale study from July 2025 paints a grim picture. Canada's GDP could take a 2.1% hit. American households could face over $2,500 in annual costs due to inflation. Businesses from Ontario to Michigan are paralyzed. They're holding back on hiring, investing, or signing long-term contracts. Trump promised control. What businesses got was chaos. But Canada isn't waiting for Trump to change his tune. Just weeks before the copper tariff announcement, Carney signed a landmark deal with the European Union. This isn't just a trade agreement, it's a strategic pivot. It deepens ties in industrial policy, defense, and critical industries. Industry Minister Jolie is pushing to expand trade under the CETA agreement. Some EU states are lagging on full ratification, but she's undeterred. Her message is clear. Trump may close doors, but Canada is opening new ones. Meetings with Berlin, Brussels, and Paris are building alternative supply chains. They're creating co-investment pathways that sidestep the US entirely. It's a quiet but pointed realignment. Canada won't be held hostage by unpredictability. This is more than a reaction to a crisis, it's a reinvention. The steel and copper industries aren't just fighting to survive. They're being reimagined as cornerstones of a self-reliant economy. Jobs may not all return, and lost shipments won't be fully replaced. But Carney's plan offers breathing room and a path forward. Whether a deal is struck by the 1st of August or not, Canada is decoupling from Trump's volatility. It's betting on its own resources, its own workers, and its own ingenuity. This is about building a future that stands strong no matter what comes next. As the world watches this trade war unfold, one thing is clear. Trade is more than numbers, it's trust. Once that trust is broken, through chaos, threats, or shifting rules, rebuilding it is no small feat. Trump may see tariffs as leverage, but Canada sees them as a wake-up call. With every escalation, Canada is adapting. Europe is welcoming, and the North American alliance is fragmenting. This isn't just a story about tariffs. It's about a nation taking control of its destiny. Canada is forging a future where its steel, its copper, and its people are the foundation of something new. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye, and see you in the next one.